narrow road.
Yeah, let's so I have lots of thoughts about that. Let's let Claire in here. She has some ideas about culture and religion stuff. So let's see where that goes. And then we're gonna I don't definitely a hard out at 1:30 hour 30. So we got about 20 minutes max left. Claire.
We will just confuse ourselves, kind of like algebra and getting the values wrong. So culture is basically a product of religion. Culture is what people do. It could be a good culture, it could be a bad culture, drug culture, casual sex, pub culture, drink culture, a bad work culture. And as for religion, it's basically the beliefs, values, and practices and rules of the religion that the group have. And then, of course, we will go into questions like, well, who is a member of the group? And what is the religion? And I guess for Americans it's going to be hard because you're not supposed to have a religion, right? You're a country with no religion.
Well,
But
we
That's
talk
actually
about
not
that.
true. No, that's not true. They were.
I mean, we
didn't
talk
want to
about that a
create
lot in the
state
corner.
church,
We're
but it was
deists.
founded. Yeah, it was completely. If you read the founding documents, it was completely founded as a Protestant nation.
Because when you were saying like before, and I put this in the chat, like words are words, the culture, religion, and even saying words have meaning. I think religion really is, and Vervaeke talks about this. Like it's the difference between what he says religio and credo when he's speaking about these. Is like religion is too fundamental to encapsulate in language. It's it's like a person. A religion is really like a person where like it's not containable within the constraints of language. Sure, can you have knowledge and articulable and self-aware propositional knowledge of persons and religions? Yeah, you can point at things, but like it's not exactly those things.
But surely that's a counsel of despair, saying plebs are not supposed to think about these big ideas. Shut up and
I didn't say we shouldn't think about them. That's what I do all the time.
No, Vervaeke was saying that, wasn't he? He was saying it's too big an idea. You'll just get yourself upset and confused. And I'm saying you can't actually say religion is a group belief system that says we are the people who believe in X. We are the people who always do X but never do Y. That would be a start. That's a pretty sort of general, universal.
But even that, it's putting religion in a hard either or thing, and I think that's what Vervaeke is saying is you can't do that with religion. It's too fundamental. That is the creedal level, where you're saying this or that, and religion is too fundamental. It includes both this and that. It's like the cup. When you say the cup, it's the body of this cup. But when I'm saying the cup, I'm also saying not this over here, not this air. This air isn't part of the cup. It's in relation with the cup.
Yes,
say the cup
so
is not
the cup, and the rest is not cup. But I'm trying to say is that a lot of people think that their own belief system is a religion. And I'm saying, no, if nobody shares your beliefs, then it's not a religion. It's only a religion if it's capable of binding a group of people. It could be a cult, and then we can talk about the difference between a cult and a religion. And I would say a cult is a new religion trying to overtake the established religion. But basically a religion is a group ideology that members of the group have all agreed to subscribe to.
I would probably disagree with that. I don't think religion is ideological at all.
Isn't it? It's fun.
No.
It's very political. People do kill each other over religious
polis
issues.
in like the old sense that it like makes a body of people, but it's not political in the sense that it's legislative and ideological and full of a bunch of people bickering and arguing about details. I mean, that's often downstream of religion, but like biblically, religion is this: to take care of orphans and widows. That's religion.
Well, that's charity, isn't it?
St. Paul said that's religion.
most religions, successful ancient religions, do have an element of charity, because it's also about being nice to members of the group, looking after members of the group so that they don't go and join some other group, right? I mean,
Claire, what do you think about sourdough and farts?
That's where I was going with this. Thank you.
See, I said it was St. Paul. It's James. Sorry, I messed it up. Religion that
right.
is
So
filed before God is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, to keep oneself unstained from the world. That doesn't even. I mean, there's a lot of action there, not a lot of dogma, and it's saying like that's what religion is to be holy, to do good things, to actual engage with human flourishing, not to debate endlessly and hate people because they disagree with you about what causes human flourishing.
well,
That's
that's
dogma.
philosophical or theological, but surely these words should be, understood properly by those who wish to discuss them, even if most people do not wish to do so, because it's important to choose the right religion, right? I mean, unless we're just going to stick to the religion of mum and dad for, inheritance or social reasons. If we're thinking of politics, it might be, something to consider if you don't think your religion is working, or you haven't got the right one, or maybe you need one, or whether the founding fathers want Americans to have religion. There's a lot of mention of religion in George Washington's farewell speech. I mean, he
But we're
said,
saying what we've been saying, what I've been asserting is that everyone has a religion. There is no not religion. Religion is how you manifest in the world. It's what's salient to you and how you act in the world. So like your religion can be an anti-religion. So you could say like this Christianity that I was raised with or whatever, I don't like that, and so I'm turning away from it, and then new atheism becomes your religion. We started to say that. The new atheists, when they first started, wouldn't have ever said that was a religion, but now that's become culturally appropriate and emergent to say new atheism has become a new kind of religion. But it always was. Because to say that I'm not this is to be something else. You have to be bodied, and however you are bodied, this is my assertion, is your religion, which is actually what James was talking about. Okay, let's welcome Paul and then Neil. Paul, what up, buddy?
Hey, I'll pass to Neil because I think I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm going to jump back on and on.
Let's pass to Tom Cruise here. What's up, Maverick?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I be a doomer?
Please.
Do I have permission? All right. People need to suffer more before they find religion, before they see it as necessary. I don't think we've suffered enough.
Yeah, very often, I think. Or you have just like or you have merely the whiny Protestant religion, which is just like and activism. Like that's what activism is. Probably is that you're protesting everything that's wrong with the world, and yes, and perhaps suffering can bring you out of your activism into true religion.
There's someone in my church, young guy, the Zoomer generation. I was talking to him briefly, and it's like, oh, I can't, I don't know what to do, and I can't. He got laid off or something. I don't know his exact situation. And I said to him, I've seen you wear a suit in church. Like, what's stopping you from wearing that suit, going to every single business in the local area and dropping off a resume and applying for every single job? It's like, well, I don't actually want to do those jobs. I don't know what I want to do. I'm like, well, do you want money? I don't know, people are going to live the lives that they're going to live. And so long as we're not suffering too much, we're pretty much content not doing anything, and that's my attitude. And
what do you think about
continue until morale improves,
Let's maybe come back and visit Pick and Choose comment here because he's disagreeing with you, Neil, but let's see what Paul has to say first. Paul, you got your stuff sorted?
Hopefully. I think there's a role for liturgy in this, and I think that people have been kind of beating around it. It really the worship of the people, and there is how we worship together binds us together, and is that participatory knowing. And a lot of your catechesis in Catholicism and Orthodoxy is going to be there's a train coming, so this may be loud. Yeah. So I don't know if you can separate religion from liturgy, because that is religion lived in many contexts, and that's the stuff, the memes, I guess, that provide the structure. So perhaps religious culture is really bound up in that liturgy. Sorry, I got distracted, so I'm
No, that's
rambling.
all right. I mean, that's like what you were saying, right? Because liturgy as the work of the people, well, that's what they're doing. Like the work of the people is what they're doing. So that's their religion, technically, right?
And that charity can be liturgy if it's partaken in a manner which is ritualistic for the intent of the will of God, or whatever end they're trying to gain religiously. So my church the church I was part of did a Wednesday night homeless shelter thing, and then they would go and eat dinner with some of the people in transitional housing. It was the same every week. The things you were done, and it was intended for, this is how we are reaching out to Christ and the poor. And so there was a liturgy around the charity, and it was the work of my church interacting in this context. And so, and I think that's where and that happens in many ways. But I think there's a liturgical element to the charity, which makes it then religion. And probably a Methodist could say better things about that than I could.
Do you think culture is like what we want and religion is what we have to do? And as long as times are good, we feel like we can separate what we want from what we have to do. Like, what is our responsibility to the Lord versus like what we actually want? And as long as times are good, we can separate those things. And then we remember embody that, oh, actually, turns out we do need that vertical.
All drinks must be in seal-proof containers when riding Valley Metro.
I guess there's the wild, and there is so if I live in I think of these like wild pastures up in the mountains, and the flowers are all over the place and it's beautiful. There's a culture there. There's an ecosystem there. It is of it. Yeah, it's that sourdough bread. And there are a lot of ideas out there, and some of them will kill you. But then there's the place you set, the home, the place you set apart. You build the garden. You may take some of those same flowers from the field and plant them in your garden. But this is the place you are intending for a purpose to make your home. And so I guess
can I give you,
that's an analogy. I don't know if it's a good one.
Yeah, no, I think that is a good analogy. So something that comes to my mind, so I'm in New Orleans. Something that comes to my mind is Mardi Gras. So Mardi Gras starts out as like this necessary reversal festival where it's necessary to be ridiculous and to get all the craziness out. And it's necessary to get all that craziness out so that you can purify yourself and have a genuine Lent, 40 days in the desert prior to crucifixion and resurrection. And so it's like, okay, how can we make, so it's to serve the religion. So Mardi Gras starts out as, okay, how do we serve this 40-day period as best we can? Okay, let's have a feast. Let's go crazy. Let's get all the wild stuff out so that then we can focus. You know, we're done with that crazy. And then somewhere along the line, it's like, no, the crazy thing becomes the more important and more appealing, broader, more broadly culturally speaking. Like, will tourists come to a city to repent and fast and, basically give up spending money? Is that the reason that tourists come to Jerusalem, to repent and fast? Or do tourists come to Jerusalem so that they can pay the money changers in the temple and sacrifice, buy the richest sacrifice to get the indulgence to make their way into heaven? Do tourists come to New Orleans to properly engage in, the Catholic Lent and the crucifixion and resurrection? Or do they come to engage in the crazy frolicking? And I'm not against tourists, by the way. I'm just saying this is the way all things go. This is the way culture goes, because we forget the thing that's behind the thing. We forget the absolute necessity for grace for the Lord. And we forget that until it becomes rough enough in our individual lives and collectively that we're like, oh, this is the whole point that we have Christmas trees. Or this is the whole point we have New Orleans. We have Mardi Gras.
So just to throw an idea out there. So it seems like there's an inversion that happens when the priorities shift from the fringe to the center. And then your new religion is some Dionysian thing where it becomes about the festival, about the drinking. And it isn't. It's the fringe in the culture now becoming the center, and now you have new religion, and people may hate that, and I think that, not to make it political, but you could make those extensions in other areas.
Yeah, I would. So here, I'm going to give my last words, and then I want to go around and get some last words because, got to get going. Got to get going. So I think someone was saying this in the chat, and I think I would agree with this, that religion is what holds the group together, whether conscious or unconscious, assumed or implied. It's why anyone is doing anything together. And then from that, I think culture can arise and different people can do different things. Like I think there's a common religion in America that allows for pluralism, that allows for multiculturalism. But there's a religion underneath that holds you together. And that's kind of like my stream where I said, you can't be in communion and actually disagree. Because you have to agree to be in communion. That's why you're there. You may debate ideas while you're in communion, but even having the discussion is having a religion that's holding you together. I think I'll just leave it there. That's my last word. Who's ready to rock out a last word?
I can.
Oh,
Okay.
Sorry, Sam. You're next. Neil, you go.
Okay. So I think what held us together as Americans is this rugged individualism, the pioneering spirit, the 50 acres and a mule. We give you the freedom and you can build a life for yourself. And, I think as nature has subsided as our chief adversary, as our chief difficulty, it's man against nature. As nature has subsided, then culture has become our chief adversary. And I'll throw kind of a provocative thought here, but so maybe the way Americans can recapture that rugged spirit that holds us together, that we're kind of braving the wilderness, is that there's a potential that as the rest of the world closes down freedom of speech because the internet is just too rough, it's too wild west, too many people are getting hurt in the wild west of the internet. So we got to bring the real ID, and we got to lock it down. We got to get the sheriffs in to all of the internet, and we got to take out the outlaws and all that. And it's like, maybe as Americans, we can actually keep that rugged individualism through the hardness of the internet, you could say. And we could develop a toughness of spirit by enduring and without like closing ourselves off to the world, but like just accept and endure the
We
craziness
could
of the
cultivate internet garments of skin.
Yeah, exactly. So this is maybe a topic of another live stream, but yeah.
All right. Rock and roll. All right, Sam, why don't you go next and we'll give Claire, see you, buddy. We'll give Claire the last word.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thinking about Jordan Peterson's wrestling with God idea, I think what he did was kind of point us to that underlying cultural foundation, saying, here's something that is not quite right. We're not struggling with reality. We're not wrestling against reality itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's led us to this wisdomless place. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Respecting of actual reality is the beginning of wisdom. And so I just wanted to share that. Something about wrestling with all of these things is where I'm at. And I thank you for allowing me to wrestle with you.
Wrestle with God, maybe not our idols or something, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Claire, you got some final words, some final wisdom for us.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Luke. I think Americans need this moral system to bind them together. And I know John Adams said things like the Constitution can only be operated on by a moral and religious people. And Washington said we must, with caution, indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. And I think we are kind of moving towards a point when this all becomes clear, because if we want a religion, we want one that is easy to believe. And once it's easy to believe, the people expected to believe in it will not be fighting each other about what it actually means. And since the founding fathers foresaw the problem and has separated the church from the state, then we are just left with the question of is the Abrahamic God logical? And because presumably this is what the Abrahamic religions are arguing about, whether their method of worship is correct. And but I think they can agree that there is only one Abrahamic God. And that I think would be a step forward. And then we ask ourselves how we should most correctly worship him, and make things easy for ourselves.
Right. How to correctly worship the one true God, huh? It's a good word. All right, Claire, thanks for coming. Thanks everybody else for being here. And until next time, we're going to leave her there. All right. Bye.